So don't take it from me. I'm just a mere peasant. I'm just a mere peasant, so you don't have to listen to me, but obviously. Um, my perspective just from observation, this could be like a little bit of a segue from those other two videos that I made, like Love is in the Air, and then what was the other one? I don't remember. Oh, the emotional regulation one. Yeah, that's the one. So I'm gonna tell you something. So I said something about seeing couples, doing the whole mingle thing and holding hands, walking around the pond and stuff like that. As cute as that is, again, you don't have to take it from me. This is just something that I've observed over the. How old am I? Oh my God, I forgot how old I am. 30, 33? No, 34. I don't know. But nevertheless, I've observation to me is very important. It's key. Like you can learn a lot of shit from a lot of people just by watching them or just by listening to them. I mean, it's up to you, but I prefer observation for myself specifically because it's very helpful. It always has been, to kind of catch myself and say, okay, I see their situation and now I can kind of use that to my advantage and say, okay, well, that didn't turn out so well for them because of this, that, and the third, and kind of dissect their situation and see where I can input myself into that based on like, what would I do different knowing how it turned out for them, that kind of situation. And back to the point, I've realized that a lot of people are not as ready for relationships as they think they are because, like I mentioned in another video, they don't have emotional regulation. They don't know how to mediate situations very well. Very well. Communication's off. They don't do it very well either. Like sometimes people take things too personal, or they get offended very easily. All types of shit. I mean, it's just very uncalled for. I would say. I mean, I had a conversation the other day with my father. I thought it went well. Was I being sarcastic and laughing a lot? Yes, but I also understood like the place where he was coming from with his point of view. Like he was very, he was in that dad energy. He wants his kids to always be doing good and always be busy and successful and blah blah blah. And I was describing to him like, things are kind of weird in the world. You can't really expect much. Things are a little shaky for a lot of people. Etc. 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 Blah blah blah. My spiel, his spiel again. Blah blah blah. Agree to disagree. But one thing I'm learning is like people aren't really as ready as they think they are, and I think that a lot of people, in my opinion, they're gonna jump in and out of these. They're really situations, really, is what they are. They're not really commitments because a lot of people don't even know what commitment is. Okay, so for those who are listening, commitment is when you make a covenant with somebody and say, I'm not going to say from death to us part, but it's almost like, no matter what happens, we're going to talk this out first and we're going to exhaust all of our options before we call it quits. That's what it is. If I'm going to put it in layman's terms, that's as simple as I can make it. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They kind of just want to move on and like assume the worst of somebody without, hearing their side or, understanding who they were as a person. Like, I'm not saying you need to be their psychologist or psychiatrist or therapist, counselor. I'm not saying that, but a lot of people kind of just call it quits before they even know who the person is because they have this ideal sense of how they want the relationship to be, which is usually fairy tale like, is what I've observed. And it doesn't really reflect the reality of what the situation's actually going to be because, you didn't account for the person you're trying to be with having their own identity, personality, individuality, their whole persona. Like, you didn't account for that. You only got the surface level bullshit that you get when you first meet a person. And then that's gonna go away, and now you're gonna get the real thing. Okay. So how can I put this in another term? So you get the Temu version of some you get the Temu version of somebody first, and then if you stay long enough, you get the Walmart version or whatever, Target Boutique. You get the real version of them after that. You get to see the real stuff. So, oh, and the other thing, they don't do work on themselves. That's the other thing. Nobody does the work, and everybody thinks they're perfect and ideal and, you know, the most beautiful thing and the hottest thing on the planet when you're not. So that's probably another problem. So, if I were a lot of people, I would stay single until you are exactly who you think you're supposed to be in, and when you know yourself well enough to know what you like and what you don't like, and when you have proper boundaries and you can recognize, you know, all those crazy things like manipulation and coercion and all that weird stuff that sometimes people don't even know they're doing. I just think it's in everyone's best interest, in my opinion, that you stay single for as long as you can. Like, have the thought of marriage in the back of your mind, yes, but at the end of the day, like, you need to really know, like, who you are first, because if you get into a commitment that becomes a marriage and you didn't know who you were before you got into that shit, you're gonna be in that marriage maybe 5-6 years or something down the line, realizing you don't know who you are, what you like, you don't know why you married this person, you didn't want kids with them, you didn't accomplish any goals or tackle any dreams before you got with this person. Now you're feeling like you've missed out on all these things that you could have done before you went boy crazy or girl crazy and, really wanted to be a father or whatever your objective was. So just, pump the brakes a little bit and just realize you can be with yourself, like me, myself, and I, for a very long time, and then become happy with that. And then if you're ready to give all the love that you would usually give to yourself to somebody else, even somebody else and a child eventually, then you're ready. But anything else that I mentioned before that, you're probably not ready.